Imagine a forest system stretching 4,500 kilometers across an entire continent, covering more than 4 million square kilometers, an area larger than India. This is not a future vision. Since 1978, China has been attempting exactly that, building an artificial green barrier across its northern frontier to stop the Gobi Desert in its tracks. Known as the Three-North Shelterbelt Program, this is not a conservation effort. It is a 72-year ecological megaproject, scheduled to run until 2050, and it may be the most ambitious attempt in human history to reshape an entire nation's landscape. Please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel. By the late 20th century, northern China was losing ground to the desert at an alarming pace. At its peak, desertification expanded by roughly 3,600 square kilometers every single year. Entire villages disappeared beneath drifting sand. Agricultural land collapsed. Water systems destabilized. More than 400 million people saw their livelihoods directly threatened by advancing deserts. Massive dust storms became a regular occurrence, carrying hundreds of thousands of tons of sand into major cities like Beijing. Some storms traveled thousands of kilometers, reaching Korea, Japan, and even the western United States. This was not a regional problem. It was a continental one. China's first response was simple and deeply flawed. In the 1980s and 1990s, massive tree planting campaigns rolled across northern provinces. Fast-growing species were planted at scale, often without regard for water availability or soil conditions. In many areas, survival rates collapsed to just 15 to 30%. Entire shelter belts died within a few seasons. In some regions, trees actually made desertification worse by draining already scarce groundwater. The vision was enormous, but the understanding of ecosystems was still rudimentary. The desert pushed back harder than expected. Despite early failures, China did not abandon the idea. Instead, it expanded it. The Three-North Shelterbelt Program was designed to stretch across 3 vast regions of the country: northern China, northeastern China, and northwestern China. When completed, it is intended to cover 42% of China's total land area. The network spans approximately 4,500 kilometers, forming a green buffer along the southern edge of the Gobi Desert. No other nation has ever attempted ecological restoration at this scale, over such a long time horizon, with such centralized coordination. By the early 2000s, the strategy changed fundamentally. Engineers and ecologists realized that deserts do not fail because they lack trees. They fail because entire ecosystems collapse. Dense forests were replaced with drought-resistant native species. Shrublands replaced tree rows. Grasses replaced forests where rainfall could not support canopy cover. In the most extreme desert zones, straw checkerboard grids were laid across the sand to physically stabilize dunes before any vegetation was introduced. Today, these sand fixation systems cover tens of thousands of square kilometers, anchoring deserts that once moved freely across the landscape. The Great Green Wall is not uniform. Each region operates under a different ecological logic. In northeastern China, where rainfall is higher, reforestation and commercial forestry dominate, creating managed woodlands that also support local economies. Across the North China Plain, windbreak corridors protect farmland from erosion, reducing crop loss and soil degradation. Along the edges of the Gobi Desert, forests give way to shrubs and grasses specifically chosen to survive with minimal water. The goal here is not greenery, it is stability. What enables this project to function at scale today is not manpower alone, it is data. Satellite monitoring tracks vegetation health across millions of hectares. AI-driven land use models analyze soil moisture, rainfall, and survival rates. Drones seed remote areas unreachable by vehicles. These systems allow planners to adjust planting strategies in real time. As a result, survival rates in managed zones now exceed 70%, more than double the outcomes of early efforts. This is no longer trial and error. It is adaptive ecosystem management running continuously. Even with technology, the environment sets hard limits. In some regions, winter temperatures fall below -30 degrees Celsius. Summers push past 40 degrees. Annual rainfall in parts of the Northwest remains below 100 millimeters. Under these conditions, forests simply cannot survive. Water becomes the defining constraint. Every planting decision competes with agriculture, cities, and rivers already under stress. The wall can slow the desert, but it cannot eliminate it. The scale of the project comes with economic and social consequences. Estimated costs range between $100 and $120 billion, with annual spending of up to $3 billion. Land rights have been reshaped. Traditional farming practices have been restricted or relocated. Entire rural communities have had to adapt as grazing areas, and cropland were converted to protected ecological zones. The wall is not just altering landscapes, it is reshaping livelihoods. As if deserts were not challenging enough, climate change adds uncertainty to every long-term forecast. Rainfall patterns across northern China are shifting. Heat extremes are becoming more frequent. Vegetation planted today may face entirely different conditions by mid-century. This forces planners to continuously redesign strategies in a project that will not fully prove itself until decades from now. The Great Green Wall is being built against a moving target. Despite the risks, measurable progress is emerging. Satellite data shows vegetation coverage across northern China rising from roughly 5% in the 1970s to around 13 or 14% today. In several regions, desert expansion has not just slowed, but reversed. Dust storm frequency has dropped by an estimated 30 to 50% in affected areas. Soil stability has improved. Moisture retention is increasing. In fragile zones, microclimates are beginning to recover. Perhaps the most important success is philosophical. Decades of setbacks forced a critical realization. Not every desert should be turned green. Some ecosystems are stable precisely because they are dry. The project has shifted away from tree count targets and toward ecosystem resilience. Managed landscapes now matter more than visual transformation. In many ways, failure taught China how not to build the wall. What makes the Great Green Wall truly significant is not just its scale, but its implications beyond China. The United Nations estimates that more than 100 countries face serious desertification. From Africa to the Middle East to Central Asia, nations are watching closely. China's project is the largest real-world experiment testing whether industrial-scale ecological restoration is possible, affordable, and sustainable over generations. By mid-century, the goal is to raise vegetation coverage across northern China to between 15 and 18%. That would stabilize agricultural zones, protect major cities, and permanently reduce sandstorm exposure across East Asia. Success will not look like lush forests everywhere. It will look like balance, a slowed desert, a stabilized climate interface, a landscape engineered carefully rather than conquered. If the Great Green Wall succeeds, it will stand alongside the original Great Wall, the Three Gorges Dam, and the South-North Water Transfer Project as one of the most extreme examples of human ambition. Not a structure built on nature, but an attempt to engineer nature itself. Whether this vision becomes a global blueprint or a cautionary tale remains uncertain. What is clear is that no nation has ever tried to terraform itself on this scale, and the outcome will shape far more than China's future. For more stories behind the world's most ambitious builds, subscribe to Unthinkable Build. We'll see you in the next one.